This is NCD's newest vibration sensor, and it does a lot of things like interrupt based triggering. It also does local alert, and it makes it easy to install and move around if you need to. So those are a few things which are in here. Let's talk about the Node-RED and how you can use it, how you can set up and all those stuff. To do that, let me show you some stuff about mechanical architecture. Okay, so this is how the sensor looks like. You got three mounting options. You can use quarter-inch NPT, or you can use quarter-inch 28 UNF, or a magnet mount. It comes with all three mounting options. This black thing on the top is the antenna, which makes sure it goes signal in all around the sensor in all directions. So you can have your gateway in any direction and you'll be getting same range. It has two LEDs, one is blue and one is red. The blue LED is there to indicate few things, like it will blink once when sensor reads data correctly and it transmits and everything is a success. It will blink once. It will blink two times and then it will blink once. So two blink quick and then a delay and then a blink one more. That means that sensor was able to send data correctly, but it had an issue reading the vibration. Then you will see the blue LED will blink three times, blink, 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 quick. That means that there is an issue with talking to the wireless radio. So that's about the blue LED. Now we'll talk about the red LED over here. Red LED is an alert LED, and this is usually useful. Let's say you install on a motor and you have fixed parameters like, hey, if the velocity, displacement, acceleration goes above this, start blinking this red LED. So if somebody is working on a machine or walking by it and they say, hey, the LED is blinking red, it means there is some problem, and they can immediately stop it, the machine, or they can go and check the log. So you don't have to check log all the time and make it a real quick feedback on the floor. So that is really useful. To switch over here. So let's say you want to trigger a reset on the sensor. You bring your unscrew magnet from here and put your magnet over here, and it will reset the sensor. There are a few other stuff which we'll talk about in a second about configuration. So earlier, if you recall, NCD sensors needed a mechanical or a physical push button to put into the configuration mode or press the reset button. We made it a little bit easier now in this product that you don't have to do that. You can configure the parameters like change the ODR, sample rate, sample duration, and frequency, and how sample rate, and all those parameters over the air as you go along. That's about everything about hardware. The only time you'll need to open this enclosure is to remove or replace the batteries. Uh, you don't need to open the enclosure for anything else. The opening the enclosure is easy, but taking the board is a little bit tricky. You have to use a little bit force. We did that so that board does not move when it's inside the enclosure and there's no resonance or error caused by the sensor itself. So that was the reason it's not as like slide in and out. It is, we made it difficult to move around on purpose, but it's not like super impossible that you can't take it out. A little bit trickery, you can take it out. I have this one of these sensor with me right now, and I will go into the Node-RED and we'll show in a minute. So right now I will just clear all this load. Let's see what all the features it has. So if you want to configure it over the air, you will need to select these two buttons. Okay, what is the OTF configuration does is, let's say every fourth minute of the hour, the sensor will wake up and will send, hey, I'm ready for the commands. At that time, you can ask the sensor like, hey, stay in config mode, and then apply all these settings. So you will give it all the settings you want to set to. Once you do that, you have two options to exit out of the configuration mode, because if you stay in config mode for too long, you will drain the batteries. So the option one is you can ask to exit the configuration mode, or if you do not send any commands for next 30 seconds, it will automatically exit out of the configuration mode. So in order to go and do OTF, you have to button. Uh, these are all basic settings. We'll not talk much about these. This is the alert LED. So alert LED is like gonna compare your user defined values with a sensor reading. So do you want to set the alert based on acceleration readings or velocity readings? You have two options there. And then what should be the alert threshold? So by default, I believe it is 500 millig, and you can set to like 20 means 1000 millig because a multiple of 50. Then if you want to compare velocity, it is multiple of 2 millimeter per second, and if it's 20, it means it is 40 millimeter. So if the sensor readings are above 40 millimeter, it will blink the red LED, alert LED. This is one of the nicest feature, which my personal favorite and a user requested, is set acceleration and interrupt threshold. What does that mean? Let's say you install this sensor on a pump. The pump does not stay on all day long. It only comes on after a certain interval. So in old or in the regular mode where the sensor wakes up after a fixed period like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 30 minutes and all, it will take the data and send data. But what if the pump was never on during those sample timings? Which means you will never get the readings or real readings when the pump is really on. So what we did is we have an interrupt, which means the vibration sensor is always on and is looking for the pump to come on. As soon as the pump comes on, it will send the data. It will keep sending the regular interval data, but it will also send the data when the pump comes on. So let's say how it will work. Let's say your interval is set to 10 minutes. It will send data at 11:00, 11:10, 11:20, 11:30, 11:40, and so on. So pump was off at 11:00, but pump came on at 11:03. So as soon as the pump comes on, it will trigger the interrupt and will take the readings and will send the data over wireless radio, and then will not take any more readings till 11:10. The reason we did it because what if the pump stays on and this device will keep sending data over and over and over, and that will drain the battery. So that's why we have this threshold setup and how it works. The by default threshold is, I believe, is around 200 millisieverts. We'll check the manual for a second. You can change it. We just set based on our own experience and this from some field testing. Mode of operation, it will support all three modes: process, raw, and process raw on request. We did add filters, so now you can fully enable disable filters. There are a few more settings for filters, like you can set the filter cutoff frequencies for high pass and low pass. We'll add that in Node-RED as well as we go along. Measurement mode is same as we had in past. Process, this one, this feature is not gonna be available in the future release because it's not used and nobody cares about it. Then we'll talk about all these things. They are all same, and once you do that, you deploy a flow, and I'm gonna go ahead and press reset or the magnet close to the sensor, and we'll see if it triggers the sensor or not. So to do that, I'm gonna do that, and now it should be sending its first packet. Then we'll send the fly because it always sends the fly at the first boot. Once it does that, it will send the OTN, and as you can see, it did send the OTN, and our Node-RED asked like, hey, stay in this mode, and then Node-RED started to send all the commands. So you can see our OTN was success, and now we are sending some commands to set up all the parameters we just chose. This is very important that you keep a check on the configuration results. If they did not go through, you might have to do it again, or next hour when it will do it again. So as you can see, in this time it set up all these commands and it went out of the config mode and the configuration complete. Next time when it sends data, it will use all these settings. That's basically about it, but I will go ahead and will show you how the interrupt works. So right now it is sending data as it should. It's sending the sample rate, mode of operation, temperature, and battery level, and all that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and trigger an interrupt, and we'll see how it works. Once the interrupt is triggered, the sensor waits for 5 seconds, so we give the motor or pump some time to ramp up and come to its speed. So as you see, the data came at 11:17, and now it came 17:48, and because I just triggered an interrupt. And the interrupt data is 0 because I just pushed it and did not keep continuing generating the vibration. When you see a pump and all, you will see the values over here. Now we'll wait, and you will see we'll get one more packet at 11:18:20 because this is a test kit, and I'm using a 1 minute interval. We'll not support 1 minute interval in the production units because that is too fast. That's about it. If you want to figure next settings, then you can just change it and deploy the flow. Next time at the 4th minute of next hour, it will go into this OTN or configuration mode, and you can set your parameters and all that. That's about it for this sensor. If you have any particular questions, just feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.